We've got a great show for you this week. We are talking about Jake's recommendation for me, the 2013 book, The Courage to Be Disliked, the Japanese phenomenon that shows you how to change your life and achieve real happiness. This is sounding like a self-help pod already.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great book by Ichiro, Kishimi, and Fumitake Koga. And for the second week of All Affleck April, I recommended for Jake the 2021 film The Last Duel, directed by Ridley Scott. Jake, you ready to go? Oh, you're an ass. Still not sure if you did that on purpose or not.
What?
The delay with the cough?
Yeah.
That was on purpose?
That was absolutely on purpose.
You planned it. You came over here with a mission.
No, I didn't plan that out. I thought of it right that second.
Really?
When you're like, do you have anything to add? And I was like, oh, I can think of something.
A little bit of...
I was like, thinking it was like, just call.
There you go. The shortest form improv ever. Just one delayed cough.
Yes, say it.
I'll take it. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing pretty good, man.
Everybody, thank you for listening. If you are new here, and I guess there are some new people here, we just passed our milestone. We set a milestone for 1,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah.
We're up over 1,500. So thank you.
Congratulations, man.
To all the new subscribers. If you're listening and you haven't subscribed yet, just subscribe to us on YouTube or Spotify, Apple iTunes, whatever you listen to it on. But appreciate everyone subscribing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
that's
thank
really
you
cool.
Yeah, real cool. And you can always send us your emails to upyouralleypod@gmail.com and share this video around with your friends. Really appreciate it. Like we said, it is the second week of All Affleck April.
Yes, sir.
How are you feeling about it, Jake? Halfway done.
Halfway done.
Halfway done.
I feel like I was almost burned out when I started on the second one, and then I was like rejuvenated.
Really? Mm-hmm. You were burned out just after air?
I was like, I don't know. Yeah. Because I was like, Ben Affleck was great in that movie, I was like, oh man, like he does do some things that are just not interesting to me. I was going into history, which, you know,
didn't feel good either.
I mean, I don't, you know how I feel about these movies.
I know so well.
Yeah. So I was like thinking about Robert the Bruce the whole time, and I was like,
Outlaw King that we did a couple episodes back.
Yeah, he's probably there. Maybe Napoleon's probably like 5 years old or something.
Nope. You have no recollection of anything you learned in history class. No, it's fine. So we are talking about The Last Duel. It's the first 2 weeks of All Affleck April. I went Affleck light.
Yes.
I mean, their first one is
Affleck. In acting.
Yeah. The first one was directed by Ben Affleck, and this one was co-written by Ben Affleck. So he's involved heavily.
Yes.
But you don't see him as much as you will later.
As an actor.
Yeah. You don't see him as much as you will later in the month.
If you give me Daredevil again this month,
it
would be kind of fun.
No, I'm not going to give you Daredevil again, unfortunately. But, and also we're talking about Jake's recommendation, great book, The Courage to Be Disliked, by Ichiro, Kishimi, and Fumitake Koga. It's a book about the psychology of Alfred Adler.
Yes.
Who was a contemporary of Freud and Jung.
Yeah.
Kind of a curveball recommendation. It's the first, Jake recommended the audiobook, which is available for free.
This will be our first book club meeting.
Little book club. I mean, we've done comics.
Yeah, but those don't count.
I count
They fry your brain. Don't you watch the news from the 70s?
Look around. If you don't count comics as books, I don't have as many books as I would like to.
You have some Star Wars books.
Most of this stuff is comics.
And comics like the stand-up
comedians autobiographies. I have a good bit of those too. So yeah, it's good. But what you been up to, bud? Let's catch up a little bit first before we get started.
Man, ain't nothing. Just hanging out. I've been playing a game. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's OTXO. I think it's pronounced Otho.
Okay.
Like the Spanish X.
Spanish, so Atyo maybe?
It's not. I don't even know if it's a Spanish game.
Like Oaxaca cheese?
It kind of feels like that maybe,
Accio.
but I don't know how you spell it. Oxo. But it's a really cool shooty up game.
Nice.
It's top down, and you just run through rooms, killing everybody, and then go to the next room, kill everybody. It's really hard to explain, but it's really fun. I'm having a good time.
Is that on your computer, or is that a PlayStation thing? I just saw there's a re-release of a game that I want to talk to you about. It came out today. Well, the show, I watched the first episode of Fallout.
Yeah.
You have not watched the first episode of Fallout yet. All episodes are available for streaming on Amazon.
Mm-hmm. Prime.
If this wasn't April, this would have been a recommendation for you. because I knew you weren't going to watch it. But I know you've played the Fallout games. I have not. They just announced finally that the next-gen re-release of Fallout 4 is going to be released on April 25th.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to scoop that up. I started playing Fallout 4, and I got maybe 6 to 10 hours in, and then I just stopped. I got distracted by something else.
Fallout 4 is the one that I didn't play.
Really?
I was living with my cousin at the time, and I just watched him play it, really. Yeah. And it's, story-wise, the weakest one for me. It looks like it's really fun to play, but I like to role-play in these games, and this game is... It kind of takes that away from you.
Makes it a little more action-adventure-y.
Yeah, you just kind of like become a big action star instead of being like a Mr. Magoo, where you could put your perception all the way down, but you could put your luck all the way up, so you can just like win by luck sometimes. Yeah, you just role play stuff. Yeah. You just create you might die immediately because you can't fight a rad roach, but you know, you're just making a character. You're like, oh, Magoo, you've done it again, and you just die from a grenade that popped off on your belt.
Sidebar, before we talk about Fallout a little bit more, did you watch another thing that would have been a recommendation had it not been April? Did you watch Neil Brennan's new stand-up special?
No.
Called Crazy Good. It's apropos to this because he has one joke that you're going to love. He talks about when God's creating people, it's like creating your own character in a video game where you only have a certain amount of points to give to everything. He's like, so when God's making Woody Allen, he's like, how many points should I give him for comedy and filmmaking? And God said, all of them. And then they said, well, that's not going to leave any points left for not having sex with his family. Just funny. Neil Brennan, Crazy Good on Netflix. Can't recommend it enough.
Oh.
Great time for stand-up comedy right now. But Fallout, the series. I know nothing about the lore of the games.
Yeah.
Are there any of the games that take place in the before times?
I mean, Fallout 4 has like a brief moment, but no, the whole story is about the Fallout.
That makes sense, yeah. Great show. First episode's really compelling. Yeah. It starts with a before time thing. Well, you see the premise of the whole show or game, if you don't know. It's set in the future, but the world gets blown up by nuclear bombs in like the 1950s.
Yeah, 1950s with robots.
What is this aesthetic called? Is it like...
Retrofuturism.
Retro, because it's kind of like BioShock and Fallout are like the big games. Kind of like that.
I don't know if I would compare those two, but kind of good comparison because
it's not steampunk, it's not cyberpunk, it's something.
It's kind of like a, what do you call a place that's like pristine and great?
Eden? Utopia?
Like a utopia.
Yeah.
You take a utopia, and then something terrible happens, and then you play the fallout of that. So I can see BioShock being like that.
Yeah. Well, I'm just talking like the aesthetic of like it's not. It's
fucking love BioShock, man.
Yeah, those are good games.
So good.
But the opening scene with Walton Goggins, where they show the world blowing up, legit harrowing. Yeah. Like it's really well shot. And Walton Goggins,
I love him.
Amazing.
Yeah.
He's got his character stats set up to charm all the way. And
for a guy who looks like a flesh skeleton, he is like one of the charmingest, prettiest guys I've seen.
He plays a flesh skeleton in this. He's a ghoul.
You know what ghouls look like in the first Fallout?
I do not.
They're
Pixels.
Just skin just falling off the bone.
Yeah, he doesn't have a nose. It's kind of like that.
Now they're just pink.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not upset about it, but I'm just like, that's something that I've noticed. Yeah.
But I will say, you follow two characters besides Walton Goggins. A girl named Lucy, who's a vault dweller.
Yeah.
And I recognize things from the games, kind of like you'd recognize in Last of Us, just little like homages to the game. You're like, oh, that's just like the game. You see like the little bobblehead thumbs
vault
up
boy.
Thumbs up. Yeah, that guy. They got the big things on their wrist and the blue jumpsuit and everything.
Yeah.
And then another guy that you follow, Maximus, he lives outside. He's in the Brotherhood of Steel. And you see the big fucking mech suits.
Power armor.
Yeah. Holy crap. Yeah. It's the production value is off the chart. And Amazon has all the money. Yeah. So they can do it. But all the episodes are out now.
I'm hearing a lot of good things. I probably will check it out. But I'm just going to kind of like...
I think
expect that it's not going to be the type of Fallout that I want it to be.
But isn't that the whole point of Fallout? Is it could be anything?
No. I mean, like, the first and second ones definitely have, like...
They were isometric, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right,
I think there's another way to call it. Cantilever something.
No idea.
Yeah.
Not going to get any help.
It's not quite isometric.
Yeah. But...
That's a nerdy thing, though.
Yeah, you should definitely check out the show.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot going on. I'm still an episode behind on X-Men 97. I hear the newest episode.
I'm behind. Yeah.
Hear the new episode is the shit.
I saw the third one last. That's the last one that I've seen.
Yes, with Storm being depowered.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that was the second one.
No, she gets depowered in the second one. She is depowered in the third. The one with
Yes.
Jubilee in the video.
Yes, where they're finding out. Yeah.
With Mojo. Love seeing Mojo back. I'm like,
yeah, Mojo.
If there's ever a X-Men character that we need in live action, just throw in Mojo because it's outstanding.
Scott Ackerman wrote a Mojo comic.
Did he really?
Yeah.
That sounds like something he would do.
Yeah, isn't it weird?
Yeah.
Big nerd.
Big old nerd. Speaking of nerdy stuff, something we talked about briefly, Lunchables are poison now.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's
Just
fun.
they have lead in it.
So I was doing some research because Lunchables are something when someone says Lunchables are, the exact wording I saw was Lunchables are worse for you than you think. And I said, oh no, because I think they're bad for you. I had them when I was a kid. I knew it was an easy thing. I was a fan of the pizza.
Yes.
And also, did you ever have the Taco Bell one in the 90s?
No. What?
It had the meat in like a pouch, and you squeeze it out and you make your own tacos.
What?
Yeah, man. Legit thing that happened.
Maybe I did have one and I blocked it out of my head because that sounds awful. That sounds traumatizing.
Pizza was a go-to for a field trip, though.
Yeah, I ate the pizza.
If you're on a field trip and then you got the Lunchables pizza with the Capri Sun on the side, I mean, that
was good.
That's haute cuisine right there.
Yeah, I'm fine. I don't think I've ever had the Lunchable with the ham or turkey with crackers and cheese. I think I just had the pizza Lunchables before.
Well, apparently none of them are good for you. The study came out and it said they have 50% or more than the allowed levels of lead and cadmium. I don't know what cadmium is, but I've never heard it like. No one's ever said, do you get enough cadmium? Like, it's never one of those things like iron or zinc that you feel like you need a little bit.
Yeah, right? Thiamine?
Yeah. It's like, you see that on the side of a nutrition fact, and you're like, oh, good. But I've never seen, like, doctors never said, you should really have more cadmium. I don't know what it does, but...
If they came out with this, and they were like, we got some news for you, Lunchables have 50% more cadmium. I would be like,
awesome.
Good. I've been lacking. And they're like, no, that's bad. Like, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I also didn't know this about Lunchables. That's fun. You know who was originally the biggest promoter of Lunchables that tried to take them to market and do everything else?
What?
Philip Morris.
What do you mean? The cigarette company?
Yeah.
What?
They were involved in bringing Lunchables to market and pushing them so they're available in schools and everything like that.
Why?
I don't know. That company just has a boner for poisoning people, apparently.
Yeah. That's where they got the lead from.
They just blow cigarette smoke all over the salami.
The wrong truck came to the wrong factory, and they didn't notice until like half the truck was empty, and they're like, oh, these are cigarettes.
Guys, we just covered the salami with carcinogens. What are we going to do? We're going to sell it to children. That's what we're going to do.
Oops, all cigarettes.
It's all cigarettes.
Do you? I working at Wawa.
Yeah.
I know all the. I see the mascots a lot. So you see Oops All Berries. You have the captain.
Yeah,
and he's pulling the he's pulling the lever, right?
Yeah.
2 berries, and he's got a sly smile on it. So it's like Oops All Berries.
He's a little card.
He's being a little scamp.
Yeah.
E.L. Fudge has the same thing with they're all chocolate cookies, but that's
the elves.
Yeah, the head elf has his hands on his head, pulling at his hair, going like, "Oh my god, I'm ruined."
So you're saying the captain putting in berries is like a fun little thing, but when he releases the fudge, he's like, "Mother of God!"
Yeah, so like, because he just the captain's just like, "Oh, I know what I'm doing. This is marketing genius." Where Keebler is like, "I don't know where I'm going to get all this chocolate from."
I'm just picturing the elf doing the Oppenheimer face where he's like shaking and smoking a cigarette. Oh, that's outstanding.
That's how I kept myself entertained working at Wawa.
Just thinking about the intricate lives of food mascots.
The Gold Bears. So there's Gold Bears, the gummy bears.
Yeah.
Haribo.
Yeah.
And they have sour Gold Bears. And the Gold Bear, he's like, on the normal gummy bears, he's just smiling, happy. And on the sour one, he's dancing, he's got his eyes closed, and he's got little bubbles around him. So he looks like he's like drunk at an office party and nobody wants to talk to him.
That's the sour bear?
Yeah.
You spend too much time inside of a Wawa, man.
Yeah, dude. Go check it out when you're back at Wawa. Look at the bear.
Next time I'm back at Wawa, I will check it out. God damn it, that's funny. Okay. Yeah. Let's get started with what we're going to be. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No.
Oh, the other thing, since I finished this audiobook that we did, and kind of ties into Fallout, I've been listening to this book. It's called Nuclear War by Annie Jacobson.
Yes.
And that's on Spotify, too. It's available. It's just a breakdown of what would happen.
I might listen to that. I don't know. It might give me anxiety.
Well, the first chapter is describing in detail what would happen if a nuclear bomb blows up over the Pentagon.
Yeah. I mean, that's more than likely where it would blow up.
We're close to.
Yeah. Did it say anything about Warrenton? Because I'm pretty sure we're right outside of the Fallout.
Yes.
Because there's pertinent information
that
I have
we're
access
trying not
to
get demonetized.
Yeah.
Let's not give away secrets about our location.
Got secrets, man.
Yeah. And also, I was thinking about it when they said at the very beginning, it's like a nuclear bomb detonated directly over the Pentagon. And then I thought about the times that I've flown out of National Airport and seen the Pentagon. I'm like, oh, that's really easy to aim at.
Yeah.
Like, they should have built it like that.
The joke was, like, there's a cafe in the center of the Pentagon, and it's called Ground Zero Cafe, because if it's going to get attacked, if the Pentagon's going to get attacked, they're going to get attacked right at the middle.
Well, that's where you'd want to be.
The cafe's going to blow up.
At the first part of this book, she's talking about how everyone watching a baseball game at Nats Park, their jerseys would explode into fire and melt onto their bodies.
But would they be dead instantly?
No. They'd be on fire
for
a little bit, and then they'd be dead.
No.
Yep.
Don't go to a baseball game.
And
check.
It's getting adapted into a movie by Denis Villeneuve.
I know. That's the interesting part to me.
It was going to be his next movie, but now he's doing Dune.
He already did Dune.
Dune 3. No, he's doing Dune 3. He pushed back Nuclear War to do Dune 3.
This just did. Denis Villeneuve pushes back Nuclear War
single-handedly with Dune, which I could see if there are a bunch of people about to blow. You figure the people running the nuclear arms race, probably big nerds. They're like, hey, we're going to start a nuclear war. And it's like, hold on.
Yeah.
We could get Dune 3. It's like, all right, well, we'll wait until Dune 3 is over, but then we're going to blow up the Earth. Especially if Dune 3 sucks. All right, so let's get into our recommendations. I want to talk about my recommendation first, because I think I can tie this into your recommendation.
Okay.
A little bit.
Sure.
Not a lot, but a little bit. So I recommended for you second week of All Affleck April. It's the 1 month a year where I do all Ben Affleck things. Although I was looking back at the episode list, there were 2 off April Affleck recs last year.
Yeah.
In The Flash and Reindeer games. So I'll sneak them in.
Okay.
I mean...
Okay, I'll take him.
I just want to say Ben Affleck isn't limited to April.
Yes. No.
It's not one of those things where it's like, hey, we're going to get it all out of the way.
You wanted me to
now.
watch The Flash not because Ben Affleck was in it. You wanted me to watch The Flash because you wanted me to be upset.
Yeah.
At the state of movies.
Yes.
Yeah.
But also The Flash was fun. We had fun with it. We already talked about that. And so I recommended the 2021 film written by Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, and Nicole Holofcener, The Last Duel, directed by Ridley Scott. It is based on a book by Eric Yeager. I'm assuming Jager. It's Yeager. That's called Last Duel, the true story of crime, scandal, and trial by combat in medieval France. So this is about 2 guys, Jean de Carew and Jacques Legris. They're both French noble-ish men.
Yeah, squires.
They're friends with the noblemen. And eventually the story is that Jean de Carew, played by Matt Damon, his wife, who is played by Jodie Comer, she claims that she was sexually assaulted by Jacques Legris, played by Adam Driver. And then the duel comes about because it's a trial by combat, basically, in medieval France. It's, if I'm lying, God's going to let me die in a duel. But if I'm telling the truth, then God will protect me. The other guy will die in the duel, and that'll prove that I'm right. Flawless logic, medieval France.
The more I think about it, the more I really understand that God would really step in if one of his chosen warriors was down.
Exactly. If there was a God. And it's, like I said, written by Ben Affleck and Matt Damon and Nicole Holofcener, and it's told in 3 parts. So going into why I recommended this movie. 1, written by Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. And there's a good bit of Damon this month, too. But, I mean...
Yes, 2 Damons.
Yeah.
If you're going to get Ben Affleck...
Matt Damon's squeezing his way.
You're going to have some Matt Damon in there.
Let me think about next week. A little bit of Damon.
See?
Slight Damon. Drizzle of Damon.
It's like the FDA.
Yeah.
You know, if you're making stuff in bulk, you're going to get some rat feces.
There's going to be some cadmium in your Lunchables. Matt Damon's like cadmium in Lunchables.
It's like cadmium to Affleck's Lunchables.
He's there, but it's fine. Don't even worry about it. Week 4, no Matt Damon. So it's told in 3 parts. The first one's told from, it says, part 1, The Truth According to Jean de Carouge. And it goes through the whole story of how these guys know each other, what his life was like. He went on to wars in Scotland and stuff like that because he was a big warrior guy. He eventually gets knighted. And the second part is The Truth According to Jacques Legris, Adam Driver's character. And he's kind of a lower-born guy who works his way up. He's good friends with Pierre d'Alcyon, and that's who Ben Affleck plays.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck in an amazing blonde wig.
Yes.
Just,
you think that's a wig?
I mean, I hope so.
I thought he dyed his hair. It looked like it's dyed.
I don't know, man. I have some makeup notes in this movie that I think are fun. And it's something I can relate to, and it makes me love Matt Damon a lot. And then the last part is The Truth According to Marguerite de Carouge, and that's the part where it says the truth. Yeah. So it's one guy's story, and it's like, this is what really happened. Yeah. And it's the woman's story.
And it hangs on the truth when everything fades out.
When it dissolves out.
The truth just stays there.
Nice touch. Directed by Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott, there are some battle scenes in this. Obviously, there's the duel, which we'll talk about. There's a little bit of foreign battles and stuff like that. It's not it's not a sweeping Ridley Scott epic.
Yeah.
Like
it's not a war.
It's not
movie.
a Napoleon or anything. It's not a Gladiator. Yeah. There's a little bit of Gladiator vibes in the Last Duel, obviously, because it's 2 guys fighting with a bunch of people watching. But really good character moments for Ridley Scott, which is fun. It's fun seeing Ridley Scott, a guy that does big sweeping things, do small things. We did Ridley Scott with Napoleon recently. I like this a lot more than I like Napoleon, not because of Ben Affleck, because like we said, Ben Affleck isn't in this movie a lot. He's very memorable and very good in this movie. But I thought you would like it because even though it's a medieval thing, it's really just a character-driven story. It's not a whole lot medieval.
Right.
Well, I mean, there's medieval politics in it, but it's still relatable to the modern day.
Yeah. Is this a true story?
It is.
Okay.
This is a true story. It's one of the things. It's the Last Duel, and if you read anything about it, it's like it was one of the last duels. It's not the Last Duel, but it's always marketed.
It's one of the most.
It's one of the most famous
biggest.
duels.
Yeah.
It was
one of the biggest Last Duels.
It's story told in France a lot because it's about honor and this is what you do and religion and yada yada yada, all that good stuff. And it shows the same story from 2 different mindsets, which I think from a filmmaking standpoint was very interesting. And then it has the actual truth, what happened, Marguerite's story. And then just really well made, really well shot. I think it's engrossing, sort of like kind of what we talked about. What was the American Nightmare? Remember that documentary we talked about the girl who got kidnapped? And then the first part of it, you're like, oh, this guy did it. And then the second part, you're like, oh, this guy.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, no. And then you find out the truth. It was kind of like that. It's a story in 3 acts that gives you the full story.
Do you remember? Oh, I think it was Go.
The song by Common?
No, there was a movie where it was like an event of a night, and it was by the perspective of like 6 different people.
No.
So you just see like how they interpreted what was going on differently.
No, I don't know idea about that.
But yeah, it sounds movie was like a 2001 or something.
Yeah.
But it's where it's how they see it.
Right.
So it's the truth to them,
right,
of course, but it's wildly different between each person just because we remember things differently or we see ourselves in a different light, in a more beneficial light.
Right.
That's what I really liked about the movie.
And what I also thought you would like about it is it kind of gave me vibes of something you recommended that I didn't like, Anatomy of a Fall, where it's basically just the testimony and how people see things different ways. And the duel's at the very beginning, but then you don't see who wins the duel, and then they pick up at the end after the duel. But there's a courtroom thing where they're basically giving their testimony, like this happened, this happened. It's sort of like a courtroom drama in that way, but you get to see the testimony actually fleshed out, unlike that terrible movie Anatomy of a Fall where you just listen to it.
Right.
Which that movie, we both agree, it's not a good movie.
I don't know why you have to drill it. I don't understand it.
I feel like I don't bring it up that often.
I don't understand you at all.
I feel like I don't bring it up that often.
It's like you could have just said it's like Anatomy of the Fall, but then you're like, it's like that piece of shit movie Anatomy of the Fall that you made me watch that you also don't like. That's a piece of shit. That's a movie that's bad.
You know who's in Fallout?
Probably
that guy
Anatomy
who's
of the
in
Fall.
Twin Peaks. That's a terrible show.
Yeah. Kyle MacLachlan.
Yeah. The guy from that terrible show Twin Peaks that you like so much. He's
so
great.
Weird.
He's great in Fallout.
Just a weird dude.
He's great in Fallout.
It's like you want to hurt my feelings for some reason.
I don't know. I'm in a spiteful mood.
I don't understand it.
It's late. My headband's too tight.
I show you stuff, and then you're like, you're a fucking asshole. And then you show me stuff, and I'm like, I didn't like that. And you're like, you're a fucking asshole.
Yeah, man. Have you not been participating in this podcast for the last 69 episodes?
Come on, dude.
It's episode 69.
I'm trying my best here.
I know. So, yeah. So I thought this was good. I think it shows a different side of Affleck. What'd you think of the movie?
Chapter 1, I was like, like this movie's all right. Like this 2, like I could see how people would like this movie, so I'm not mad at it.
So that's Matt Damon's
And then
story.
Chapter 2 started, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I was like, is this actually kind of like a light 3? I was like, this is kind of really interesting.
Low-key 3?
And then Chapter 3 happened, and I was like, this movie is a 3.
It's a 3?
So awesome. Yes.
Last Duel's a 3?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's so good.
I will say this. This is the one I was most worried about this whole month.
Really?
Yes.
This movie was incredible.
Really?
Like you said, I didn't need to know anything about history. They explained it really well, what was going on. You know?
Yeah.
It had a lot of that because they're like, you know, she is the one that brings up the violation, you know? And they're like, you're not the one that's going to be on trial because you are the property of Matt Damon. So it's Matt Damon protecting his property. That's what's happening here.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's really messed up. And like, the movie shows it in that light very well. That it's like, this is just how things go. And then people are like, that's really messed up. And it's like, that's done so well. Chapter 3 is the epitome of the movie. It's because you already understand what's going on. So, like, one of the cool scenes was when Matt Damon and Adam Driver see each other again after a while. They clasp hands because they had previously had an altercation.
Right.
And they're like,
there was land that got attributed by Ben Affleck. It was land that belonged to Matt. It's supposed to be Matt Damon's dowry when he married his wife.
Yeah.
And Ben Affleck, who's higher ranking up in Paris royalty or whatever. I think he's cousins with the king. His character was something like that.
He takes control of these.
Right.
Sector.
So, and he was just like, no, I'm going to give that land to
my best buddy, Adam Driver.
Adam Driver, who is his best buddy because Adam Driver knows how to read and knows math, and he gets all of Ben Affleck's accounts back in order.
Yeah.
Which there's a funny scene where it's like a party trick. Adam Driver's reading.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh.
Yeah.
Like it's like he's juggling or something. They're just like,
He's reading Latin.
Look at this guy read words. Fancy pants over
But
here.
there's a good part because you see it 3 times.
Yeah.
You know, the first time Matt Damon's like, he tells Marguerite, like, give him a kiss, give Legree a kiss to show that there's no bad blood between us. And the first time you just see a little kiss, you're like, okay, that's how things happen.
Formal little peck.
Yeah. And then the second time you see it, it's way more. Adam Driver kind of turns into it
I
more.
know exactly what you're talking about.
And you're like, that is like wild.
And the camera like lingers on him, and Adam Driver nails that part where you could see like something click in his head when he finally kisses. He's like, oh, and he's infatuated with this woman.
Yeah. He pushes his face into her, and he makes the lips contact, and you're like, that's like way more passionate.
Meant
now.
something to him.
Yeah,
yeah.
And then you see it the third time, and it was like slightly open mouth kiss that happens from him, and you're like, that is gross.
Yeah.
Like, you weren't supposed to do that, Adam.
So that kiss, it's so. I love how you caught on this because it's my list of things I want to talk to you about. That's one of the only scenes that's in all 3 stories.
But the other part is the dance at that place,
right?
Where when Matt Damon talks about it, it's just a dance where he's just regaling about what's going on.
Yeah.
When it's from Adam Driver's point of view, he's making eye contact with Marguerite the whole time.
Yeah.
And he's thinking, oh, she's falling in love with me like I'm falling in love with her.
Oh, yeah.
And then it goes to Marguerite's, and she's saying, you know, it's really nice that you took my advice about reconciling with Legree, because you could see with just a little eye contact and a smile, you can get a lot more out of people than threatening to kill them.
Right.
And you're like, wow, she's like
Yeah.
totally manipulating her.
Yeah.
Like, get good stuff for them. And I was like, this is so cool how these things just, it didn't feel like it was like I was watching the same scene 3 times.
No.
It felt like a story was being told from 3 different people. It was perfect.
It was the best version of this that I think I've seen in a while, of just seeing everything. And it really felt like you didn't really know who was telling the truth, because you watch Matt Damon's story, and in Matt Damon's story, he looks like the good guy. He's like, I'm defending my wife. I'm an honorable man.
And I'm an outcast.
Do this.
Nobody likes me around
and
here.
It's just the fucking story that you hear all the time of everyone's out to get me. I'm doing everything right. Everyone's out to get me. And then you see Adam Driver's story, and he's like, I'm just a fun guy. Yeah. You're a piece of shit to your wife.
Everybody
She's in love with me.
Yeah. When you're around.
And there's one time when Matt Damon goes to see Ben Affleck, and he's like, when he finds out that his land had been given to Adam Driver, and at that point he's very staunch, and he comes home to his wife, and he's like, and I said this, and she's like, no, you didn't say that, and he's like, well I'm owed, blah, blah.
Like,
my father
was composure, and I just laid down the law in front of him,
which is something that anyone that's been in a relationship has done. When you go back and tell your significant other, you're like, nope, this is I told you what I said to him. I said this and blah blah blah, and you're like that, and then you hear it from the other perspective, you're like, that's not what happened. Like at all.
He lost his cool almost immediately.
He like trips, like trying to get back up onto his horse, and everyone laughs at him. It's hilarious.
It's amazing. So
I'm really happy that you like this.
The duel at the end is great.
Some of the best combat.
What a great fight that was.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no.
And hyper violent. Like, but I read, so I was trying to find some reviews on this, and I went to a great website. It's reddit.com r/movies. Have you been to Reddit?
I'm never going back.
Never going back? Why not?
Because you go to r/titty drop, and it's just women taking their shirts off.
What? On the internet? Not on any internet I've been to. Anyway, so they're talking about this movie in this, and someone said that they were a medieval reenactor, because of course someone on Reddit's a medieval reenactor.
You're gonna believe this guy. This is already a groan-worthy story, because he's gonna say it's actually very accurate.
Well, they just said that's how in the duel, that's how armor and swords would work, because they get hit with swords a bunch.
Yes,
and it just kind of glances off the side.
You're talking about sword combat?
Yeah, the sword combat.
Guy, I wish I could remember his name on YouTube, but I watched him for a little while back in the day. I think his name was like Skelligrad or something, but he
checks out.
He learned sword combat from the ancient scrolls that they have.
Oh, Jesus.
And it was just really great to see, because he was like, they grab the handle of the blade all the time. He's like, it's fine. And he'll take his big sword that he has and just flip it around and hold it like that. He's like, he used it as mace all the time. He's just smacking a dummy with it.
People with it.
And like, that's really cool. And to watch them fight like that, I was like, oh, it's that thing from that YouTube video. Yeah, that was really fun.
So, and I will say this, I'm so happy it's a 3. I'm glad you liked it. It's the only one this month I was worried about. So let me tell you, it's smooth sailing.
You weren't worried about air?
No.
I was
worried about air. I knew what air was going to be. I knew air was going to be a 2.
Okay.
But I wanted to do air.
Okay.
Because it's Ben Affleck directed, and it's the one I wanted to talk about. And I wanted to talk about it last year, but we didn't.
Okay.
So
Understood.
And also that algorithm, baby. I'm trying to just keep in it. All right. People are talking about basketball right now. It's in the zeitgeist.
Just now.
Next April, other podcasts are going to be talking about Ben Affleck, because they're like, we got to get in that up your alley algorithm and just kind of start spinning stuff.
We should talk about basketball in March, because everybody's talking about basketball in March.
The championship was last week. It was on Monday.
The basketball?
NCAA championship.
Yeah, I don't watch that.
Yeah.
Go Wildcats. UK.
No, I was thinking. Yeah, I guess that's close. So, fuck, I got distracted.
Yeah, man.
The best Ben Affleck part in this. So there's a scene in Adam Driver's story when Adam Driver's coming to Ben Affleck and telling him, he's like, hey, this guy's being a dick. He's suing me. Like, because Matt Damon sues both of them. Yeah. And he bangs
for the land.
He bangs on the door, and Ben Affleck is in there with 4 naked women. And he just like Adam Driver bangs on the door, comes in, and Ben Affleck just goes, LaGree, come in, take your pants off.
Yeah, that's good.
And you're like, what? You can't just do that. Then he just does it like it's a normal thing. He's like, oh, you're my buddy. Come in and we'll bed these women together.
Ben Affleck is a very charming addition to this movie.
Yeah.
When Matt Damon, I can never remember his name, but when Matt Damon is talking about him, he's kind of
it's Carouge.
Carouge. He's snooty and standoffish.
Yeah.
And then when Legree's talking about him, he is just a horn dog that likes to joke.
Right. That's how he is. In Ben Affleck's character, it's told in different, like, Legree knows him.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And that's his friend. And that's how he is around his friend. And when around Carouge, it's how you are to your subordinate. He's basically his boss. Mm-hmm. There's a perfect thing at the very beginning when they're coming back from the war, and you have to kneel in front of him and say, you know, my liege, everything that I have is for you. And, like, Adam Driver goes and he kneels. And then Matt Damon comes up right behind him and kneels. And right when he starts talking, Ben Affleck just goes closer.
Yeah.
And he has to, like, shimmy up a little bit. Apparently that was improvised by Affleck. Nailed it. And this movie was written with Ben Affleck playing Adam Driver's part.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. He had to step back to do
Adam
another
Driver
movie.
Was incredible.
Adam Driver nails it. I mean, he's another one of those actors.
Yeah, he's another one of those actors.
Yeah, I'll watch him do anything. And... but Ben Affleck just took back. He's like, I still want to be in this movie, and he took that fun part, which I don't know if I would have liked this movie as much as I love Ben Affleck.
Yeah,
I don't think I would have liked this movie as much if he was playing Adam Driver's part.
I think Adam Driver really takes it away.
I think Adam Driver nailed it. Yeah. But another person on Reddit, I want to give credit because I don't know how I never thought of this.
And the lady that played Marguerite, she was great.
Jodie Comer.
Yes.
Yeah, she's amazing too.
Yeah.
And she did all three parts.
Comer, yeah.
Because she had to play...
The best part of Chapter 3 was you already know the story between those two. It follows her throughout it. Oh, like the sickness that Matt Damon had when he comes back from war. When he's telling the story, he's sweating and he's coughing. Yeah. And
it looks like he's about to die.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's like, I got to go to Paris tomorrow. They're calling me. She's like, you can't go. You're sick. You have to stay. And then when it's her telling the story, it's him just sitting down, just going, I got to go to Paris tomorrow. And she's like, oh no, please don't go. She's like secretly begging, like, please get out the door right now.
Jodie Comer plays like the devoted wife in Matt Damon's story. She's the flirtatious housewife,
dutiful and just right there,
right, and
helpful.
In Driver's story, she's flirtatious and you know she's fun and everything. And then in her life, she's like, I'm just trying to fucking live. Yeah. And these two guys are driving me insane.
Yeah, she's like, running this place is awesome. Yeah. She's like, I want to do this forever.
Right. And she's like, oh, like she's talking to one of her people. It's like, why are you plowing with the oxes? Wouldn't the horses be faster? And he's like, oh, my lady, we're not supposed to use the horses. She's like, use the horses. Like, just come on, let's get this done.
Like, the horses are too valuable. She's like, they're not going to be valuable if they die. Yeah. We need food to feed them.
So, again, this is an idea I can't believe I hadn't thought of. Cool Hand RK1 on Reddit said, who knew one of Ben Affleck's best roles would be an entitled fuckboy? And responded to it, Luceris said, watching Affleck kill it in rich douche mode made me wonder, should he have been Lex Luthor instead of Batman all along?
No.
I think Ben Affleck would have killed Lex Luthor.
No.
As this just better than you... And still, because the thing about Lex Luthor is he's still an imposing guy.
Yes.
He's supposed to be able to stand fit, like not punch, obviously, but when they're standing physically toe to toe, like I think...
I always like the depiction of Lex Luthor being smaller than Superman. But
no, I mean,
stands up.
Like he puffs his chest out. He doesn't like cower down to Superman.
Oh, yeah, no.
Like
he's very into himself.
He's looking at his collarbones, but...
I don't feel it.
I feel, in retrospect now, I would have loved to see Ben Affleck be Lex Luthor. I don't know how he'd look bald. But, I mean, he could do the Gene Hackman where he's wearing a
wig the whole time.
A wig. He could wear a silly wig and still look good. He looks very silly in this movie. Speaking of which, the thing I want to talk about makeup.
Yeah.
Apparently in this movie, and it's something he had spoken about previously, it's something I fully relate to on a personal level with Mr. Matt Damon. Mm-hmm. Matt Damon had to wear prosthetic facial hair in this movie because apparently it's a running thing in Hollywood. Every time he has to grow facial hair, he's like, I just can't. Like he's one of those guys. He's like myself. It's like he's like a kid, like Ben Affleck, full beard. Yeah. You call him on Friday, he's got a full beard on Tuesday. Yeah. Matt Damon needs prosthetics
to pull out. Between me and you right now.
Exactly.
It's been a week. I got a full beard going on.
Full beard. Here. I haven't shaved since W. Bush was in office, and it looks like this. But I love Matt Damon, and I'm so happy like this. And I think...
great recommendation.
Awesome, dude. I'm glad you're... Speaking of great recommendations, let's talk about yours. I'll tell you right off the bat, Hard 3.
That's amazing.
Hard 3.
It was one of those recommendations because it's like something that's just on my mind a lot. And I saw the runtime as 6 hours, and I was like... is a book pushing it for a recommendation?
I was like,
from there, I was like, well, we could just talk about if it doesn't even finish it. We could at least start talking about what the book is.
I got it done. Trust me, I finished it.
That's great.
So, again, the book is called The Courage to be Disliked by Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitake Koga. The subtitle, The Japanese Phenomenon That Shows You How to Change Your Life and Achieve Real Happiness.
Yeah.
So, Jake, take it away. How'd you find this? Why'd you recommend it? All that good stuff.
It was just one of those spur-of-the-moment things. I go on X a lot. That's where I just spend my time.
Can we stop?
Yeah.
You said you were never going to call it X.
I know, but then I started thinking it's dead naming it, and I don't want a dead name to offend people. That's just really mean.
I love your morals.
Yeah. So
that's one of the most noble things ever.
If they want to be called X, I understand, and I'll do it. But
God
fuck
damn
X.
It. That's one of those. You're walking the walk there, aren't you?
I'm trying, man.
Jeez, I might get canceled for this, but I saw some stuff on Twitter. I don't even care. I don't even come at me.
Formerly Twitter.
Formerly Twitter. Anyway, go on.
It was just one of those things where it wasn't even something that I follow. It was just somebody saying, like, I just started listening to this book, and it really helped me.
Yeah.
And I was like, the title is what grabbed me, The Courage to be Disliked. That's my biggest problem, I would say, if I was to analyze myself, is I'm a big people pleaser.
You are.
And it's because I don't want people to dislike me. Yeah. And this book was like, it takes courage to be disliked. And I was like, that's an interesting idea. So I was like, I'll listen to it. And then I started listening to it, and I was like, this is actually a really fun philosophical thought.
Yeah, so it's based on the works of Alfred Adler, who was a philosopher and psychologist from Austria.
Yeah, apparently at the same time as Freud and Jung.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, but he is lesser known.
Just not known. And he's like almost the opposite idea of
so his whole
psychology.
His whole thing is coming out strong. And first of all, like I said, it's a 3. Mm-hmm. When I first heard the title, The Courage to be Disliked, I was like, is this going to be like some fucking manosphere? Like, it's okay to be an asshole. It takes balls for people to hate you. Yeah. And I was like, oh, God, this is going to suck.
The subtle art of not giving a
F-word. But I just saw that it was a Japanese book, and I was like, okay, this is different because, like, you don't really see that kind of philosophy coming out of Japan. I mean, it's just not their culture. I'm sure there are fuckboy assholes in Japan.
Yeah.
It's
gotta be.
Yeah, sure. They're probably in the Yakuza game that you played. Most of those guys seem like fuckboys from the ones I played.
We've talked about Freud and Jung before.
We have.
Me and you, both personally, and I believe on this podcast once or twice, maybe.
Sure.
So I was like, when they bring it up in this book, that's when it started connecting in my head that it would be something that would interest you as well.
So it's written as a dialogue between an old man philosopher and a young boy.
Yeah.
And I like the way the dialogue's written. It's smart that they did it that way because it's something that Plato did too. When you write a dialogue, you instead of it's less of a lecture, and it's something that you can steel man other people's arguments. So it's like it comes off sometimes when it's done poorly as like shower arguments that you have in your head.
Yeah.
Like, and then they'll say this, and I'll be like, well, let me tell you something about that. But when you try to steel man someone else's argument, and it's like, I got to think of every single thing it's a great debate tactic.
Yeah.
Is try to write for the other team.
It did feel like straw manning type vibes when I was reading it, because there's a lot of times when the young kid is like, ha, you are contradicting yourself, sir. Right. How could you be so hypocritical when you're saying these things?
So the whole thing,
but it's more like he's just bringing up the premise of there are conflicting ideas, but they're not like at face value, but they're actually a different thought process on different directions.
Adler's whole thing essentially
we should
is
talk about what it is.
Adler's whole thing is, like you said, is opposite of Freud. It's that trauma is not real.
Yeah.
It's like, if you want to be happy, you can start being
trauma
happy.
Isn't going to be something that strictly defines you.
And you're not the way you are because of your past.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is
it's not going to be who you are in the future if you don't want it to be.
Uh-huh.
And so it's kind of like, it's almost sounds like bootstrappy ideas where it's like, pick yourself up and get going. But they really go into how you can start defining yourself now.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think that's why the way it's written as a dialogue is so good, because as soon as it comes off as preachy and that pull yourself up, it's like, why are you sad? Just start being happy.
Just start being happy.
You have the young boy in the dialogue just being like, what are you talking about? Mm-hmm. Like, I can't just start doing that. And then he walks it back and they work through it together. It's a great listen. I mean, the two guys, I forget the name of the guys that do the audiobook on Spotify, but the way it's done up is really great.
Their names are Noah Galvin, Graham Malcolm, and January Lavoie does
the interstitial. Yeah, it's like she's a stage manager reading the script, the direction. Like she tells you what's going on. Adler is great. The one big takeaway that I had from it is that there's something that they keep going back to, and it's brought up hundreds of times. Not hundreds, but a couple times.
Yeah.
The old adage, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So that's always been like a hypothetical, and it's always like, usually it's said as like a throwaway. It's like, oh, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Yeah.
And the way that this book is portraying Adler's idea is when Adler says you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, it's not just something to say. It's a direction. It's like, lead him to water. Do not make him drink.
Yes.
Do not.
That's a great point.
That's not your job. He talks about the big thing is the separation of tasks.
Yes.
And I really like that, the way they twisted that old saying, something that everyone knows. And it's like, you can take that whole mindset. It doesn't mean what you think it means, which is kind of what the whole book does about talking about trauma, talking about your happiness, talking about interpersonal relationships is a big thing.
Yes.
Throughout all of I'm not going to sound like pompous dick, but throughout all Adlerian psychology, I've listened to one book about it.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is it's all interpersonal relationships, and it's not your job to make the horse drink.
Yes.
You can help the horse get there.
Your task is to help lead. If they're asking for help, if you're coming to somebody, if they're coming to you and they're asking for help, you can say, this is what I can do for you. My task now is to tell you how I can help, and I can do these things for you. It's up to you, the other person, to take their role in this as well. Yeah. The drinking of the water. I can help you. I can give you a place to stay, but it's going to be up to you to get a job. That type of thing.
Perfect. And it really ties into the other bit of philosophy that I've been into the past year or so is a lot of Stoicism and Stoic philosophy. It's such a cliche, but Meditations by Marcus Aurelius is great. And he talks about a lot of this stuff 2,000 some odd years ago.
Yeah.
When he's talking about doing your job, and in that they talk about the logos, which is, nature, and the logos of God, and what you're put on this earth to do, kind of find your thing. And it's something that helped me so much, like through like therapy, and then also reading stuff like this.
Yeah.
Just being like, no, find what you're supposed to do and do that, and that will make your life better.
Yeah.
Find out what your job is, and Adler's thing, the separation of tasks. Yes. And that's so helpful, I think, for anybody that listens to this, to realize that it's just like, some things aren't your job.
Yeah.
And everything will be better if you don't try to make everything your job. Like and it's not saying...
That's the thing, that's where it's coming in, the courage to be disliked.
Right.
If you're actually constantly, giving the glass of water up to the horse and making them drink.
Right.
They're
horse is going to knock it over.
It's taxing.
They don't have hands.
It's taxing on you.
Right.
It takes a lot out of you. And when you stop and you say you're going to have to do this on your own now, they're going to dislike you now for it, because they've been using your what your idea of help is for them, and that part is scary. Yeah. I don't want people that I love to be upset with me, or dislike me. But, it could happen. But it was about 3 years ago when I started making moves to be like, I have to cut people out. I have to stop being this type of person for other people. And I'm like a much better person for this stuff.
Yeah.
So this book, having these cool little quips to just put in my mind so that when I feel these frustrations coming up, it just comes in with the separation of tasks, or just remember that all relationships are interpersonal relationships.
Yeah.
And you just start feeling
that's why I got the physical copy of the book, because Meditations, they're just little bits, in the way it's written, you just take little snippets out of it, and okay, I can just go back and look at this little part whenever I need to. And also the other thing for the courage to be disliked, it's talking about creativity and stuff like that, like things we're doing now. There have been plenty of times when I've thought about doing something as trivial as this, what we're doing now does not make a difference in the world on the whole. But it's something that we're doing, and there's already been some negative comments and stuff like that, and I see it, and it's just like, okay, but it's what I do. We got
dancing. We're doing the dance.
We got a TikTok comment that just said okay, and I was just like,
okay,
all right,
yeah.
I don't know.
It's okay,
that, but it's like those little dumb clips and everything that I edit and put up on TikTok or whatever. You sit there and you trivialize it, and you're like, well, this isn't great or this isn't good, and it's like, no, you gotta just do it.
Yep.
Just do it. You sit down, you do your thing, and like right now, this is the thing we're doing.
Yep.
Some people might think these guys are dumb. They don't know anything about Adlerian psychology, or they might think Freud's like.
Yeah, they bring up the professional after 10,000 hours or something like that.
Malcolm Gladwell, yeah.
Yeah. He's like, Adlerian's just like, you just start dancing, you know? You just start doing the dance, you know, and you see how far you go with it, you know? And sometimes it sticks, and sometimes you'll have it, sometimes you don't, and it's okay.
It's definitely a winner. Like I recommend anybody listen to this, or
it's on Spotify if you're paying for Spotify.
I will say this: listening to it, so I listen.
Actors are very funny.
I listen to books on Spotify at 1.5 times.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Damn.
And the guy that plays the kid. Mm-hmm. And he's a shitty kid. He's written that way. Like, he's supposed to be like, I'm right and you're wrong, blah, blah, blah. At 1.5 times speed, he just sounds like Ben Shapiro. Which made this book so much more. I was laughing.
I got you right there. That's a dope fallacy. You can't be doing this.
It's like, you're so sophistic in your view. Like, the worldview cannot be delineated into just tasks.
Yeah.
There are certain things you have to do, like with my family. I have to be here with my family, and I have to do things for them. And how they react to me is important to me. It's just like, hearing it as Ben Shapiro was so great. I was laughing to myself in the car, and I was like,
so funny. I'm going to listen to it again at 1.5 times speed.
It sounds like Ben Shapiro. And
he's
such
funny.
A shitty little kid that keeps getting dunked on by this. And that's like the Ben Shapiro clips where he's just like being mean to college students.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm such a great debater. It's like, you're dunking on 19-year-olds, dude. It's not hard to do. Like,
they're just forming their thoughts on things.
Yeah, they've got calf-high socks on with Crocs, and they think it's a good look. Not to dunk on any 19-year-olds listening to this, but I looked at our analytics. It ain't you. Sure, knock yourself out, kid. But it's so funny to just hear that Ben Shapiro voice get like just laid out and be like, no, you're wrong. And just be like, I guess I never thought of it that way. Something you would never hear something you would never hear Ben Shapiro say. It makes it that much better. I will say, go back and listen to it 1.5 times speed.
So funny.
Yeah.
What I like is it's got the Metal Gear approach to a conversation, which is the person will make a statement about something, and then the other person would repeat the thing.
Yeah.
So the old man would be like, it is a problem of interpersonal relationships.
Interpersonal relationships?
Yep. And he's like, and then he goes into it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It happens constantly. And every time I hear it, I think of Metal Gear, where he's just like, Metal Gear? It's the birthplace of Metal Gear. Metal Gear? Human genome? It's so good.
It was part of what I was doing with the Fox Die project. Fox Die?
Yeah.
Speaking of Metal Gear, the music in The Last Duel was done by Harry Gregson Williams, who did the Metal Gear games.
That's great.
Yeah. Another reason The Last Duel rules. Yeah.
Small world.
Yeah, so 2 3s. Like, I think this is
I knew when I came in and I saw that book on the table, I was like, oh, this is going to be a great podcast today.
What if I just bought it to throw it at you? Like,
that wouldn't be you.
I've turned my shitty thing into
to just actual physical abuse.
If I did a whole like Freudian heel turn, I was like, no, my trauma is important to me. It's exactly who I am, and it's all I can talk about forever.
Man, that's so wild.
Yeah, Neil Brennan talks about trauma in his new special too. Mm-hmm. I recommend everyone, like I said, go see it.
It's not to say that we're trying to discredit your trauma.
No, his whole thing is like, he says that he's better now, and he's like, if you're here for me because you want to be like a sad boy, he's like, sorry, I feel great.
Yeah.
And then he's just funny.
There's things in your life, and I understand, that are traumatizing. But I would say that this book does help understand and reflect on the trauma.
Yeah, and it helps
rather
you
than
deal with shit.
Yes. It wants you to help, to just be helpful to yourself.
Right.
You know, I don't even want to call it happiness, but just be helpful to yourself.
Can't recommend enough. Again, The Courage to be Disliked, and there's a sequel called
Self-Help. That's why it's called a self-help.
Just put that together, huh? Didn't you used to work at a fucking bookstore?
Yeah, man.
Where you up there and be like, self-help, but I have to put the books on the shelf. They're not doing anything for themselves. Oh, that was a dumb bit. All right, so yeah, Courage to be Disliked by Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitake Koga. Available to listen to on Spotify, and I'm sure you can find it on other places too, Audible, like all that shit. Yeah, sure. So yeah, double threes. Let's figure out what we're going to be getting into next week. Jake, what do you got for me?
Give me 1 second. It's a two-parter.
Two-parter?
Yes. Actually, for one man that I want
That's me.
To watch.
I thought you meant a two-parter for one man. I'm like, yes, me.
I believe this will be a gift to you. I think you will enjoy it immensely, as I have.
What am I watching now?
His name is Tom Walker. He is on YouTube. I want you to watch his YouTube video where...
is that the Irish folk singer?
No, he is a Australian.
Ooh, I love Australians.
Exactly. I want you to watch a video where he tries to flip a quarter 8 times to reveal all heads.
That's mathematically, like, very small chances.
What's so funny is you think he's losing his mind at, like, the 2-hour mark, but he's really losing his mind about the...
Not this?
Hold on.
Is this him?
The heck are you doing? No.
Tom Walker.
No. I'll send it to you. His name's Tom Walker. We're going to get flagged.
Shout out Tom Walker.
But he starts losing his mind at about, like, the 8-hour. It's
8 hour?
Yeah.
So he just tries to Mr. Beast it?
It's such a funny video. It's so good. But
oh my God.
After you watch that, I want you to check out his podcast that he does called BigSoftTitty.png.
Why?
Because it's really good. You're going to like it.
Jesus Christ.
You're going to like it a lot.
Did he name it that for SEO?
It's him and his partner.
But is it named that for SEO?
Who's SEO?
No, search engine optimization.
I don't know.
There's a guy.
The first episode, they're talking about him and his girlfriend, I guess, are talking about they just decided the name of the podcast.
Oh, really?
And like that's all they do is like say, yeah, we just decided on the name.
Yeah, I was just asking because I was listening to an interview with this guy Ben Avery, who's a podcast producer. He was a producer on like the Tim Dillon Show and a bunch of other stuff, but he has his own podcast now. And he's like a filmmaker, and his podcast is called Lemon Party because they're just trying to pop up in Google searches.
Boo.
I mean, clever. And
clever?
He says he's taking it
You're
back.
ruining search engine. I want to see old men sucking each other off.
Well, you can. Or you can listen to this podcast.
Now I have to take a couple seconds.
Wait, you mean to tell me that's on the internet too?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Go to reddit.com.
I mean, no.
/r.
Maybe I shouldn't go to Reddit anymore.
/lemon party.
Probably there. Not going to go. Probably there. All right. So, week 3. All Affleck April. I forgot to check where this is streaming. Give me a sec.
It's actually not.
Oh, it's out of print. No, it's on Apple TV. Boop, boop, boop. So, but you can find it anywhere. So, it's a 2004 film. I gave you one film by director, Ben Affleck. I gave you one film by writer, Ben Affleck. Now I'm going to give you a film by one of the greatest writer/directors of all time.
Ben Affleck?
No.
Kevin Smith?
Kevin Smith.
Ben Affleck movie with Kevin
You're
Smith.
watching Jersey Girl.
I've already seen Jersey Girl.
I know. I need you to rewatch Jersey Girl. Because now, this is part of All Affleck April.
Yeah.
I know you've seen Jersey Girl before. Years ago.
Yeah.
Years and years
and
ago.
years.
So, knowing your new appreciation of Ben Affleck, I want you to have a serious... It's part of the Ben Affleck journey.
This is what I'll say.
Not only new Ben Affleck stuff, but also to reconsider old Ben Affleck stuff. I maintain this is in my top 3 Kevin Smith movies of all time.
Wow.
This movie is heartfelt. It shows Ben Affleck's range of being sweet and being a paternal figure, not something he does very often. I think it's a great father-daughter story. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased in that.
Yeah.
But I want you to go and rewatch Jersey Girl with your new appreciation of Ben Affleck.
Only thing that I remember about this movie...
Good that you don't remember much.
...is that they do a performance from a song from Sweeney Todd.
Yes.
And it was really good. They really understood the assignment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like, it was funny and silly.
Yes.
And, like, too many people think Sweeney Todd is, like... I don't know, dark, but it's more silly than dark to me. Yeah,
it's campy.
Exactly, and they get the camp out of it.
Yeah. So I want you to rewatch. Who does that? Not a reconsideration. What's the word for it?
A review.
Dan Olson does it. Like I don't know. What do you like?
Folding ideas?
No, not Dan Olson. The H Bomber guy.
No.
Critical. What does he do?
Yeah, what is it called?
Critical Close-Up, something like that?
That was that's Super Bunny Hop. Oh, I should get you to watch him.
I mean, I've already watched Super Money.
Critical Close-Up.
Regardless, I want you to do like a reconsideration, a reevaluation of Kevin Smith's Jersey Girl, because I think it's off my line. It's 20 years old now, much like that Modest Mouse album you told me about.
Yeah, right?
It's a 20-year anniversary of Jersey Girl. So
you were bopping out to Modest Mouse and watching Jersey Girl, and you were just on top of the world 20 years ago.
No, I wasn't doing much 20 years ago. I didn't have any money. It was kind of a mess. So yeah, rewatch Jersey Girl because I want you to go in with an open mind.
Okay.
I'm going to check out Tom Walker flipping a coin and then check out his podcast, BigSoftTitty.png.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You're going to love it.
All right. I wanted to also remember to thank Jimmy John, who does all of our artwork and everything like that. He does all the graphics and everything like that.
Great job, man.
Jimmy found him on Fiverr. He's an integral part of the team now.
Yes.
I also want to thank our buddies Brother Bill for our interstitial, the theme song for that. You can get all of their music on bandcamp.com/brotherbill.
Yeah.
Jake, thanks for coming over. Love you, buddy.
Love you, buddy.
All right, bye.
Bye.